3 days and 2 nights trip to Kyoto during the autumn foliage season. Day 2. December 1st, 2023, Kyoto, Japan. It's the morning of the second day. I went to a rice shop called Shunsai Imari, a 10-minute walk from Karasuma Oik subway station in Kyoto, to enjoy Kyoto's breakfast. I made a reservation for the 7:30 slot. It's completely by reservation, so be sure to make a reservation before you go. The photo at the bottom left is the side dish for breakfast. The price of the breakfast set was 1,700 yen. I was very fond of its gentle taste. The most distinctive feature of the breakfast at Shunsai Imari is that they cook rice in a clay pot according to the arrival time of the customers. Therefore, it is strictly necessary to adhere to the reservation time. The scorched rice was just right, and I enjoyed it very much. After having a good breakfast, I headed to Kiyomizu-dera by taxi before it got crowded. I arrived around 8:30. If it's a weekday at this time, you can get close by taxi. Even in the early morning, the approach to Kiyomizu-dera was already filled with many students on school trips. Upon arriving at Kiyomizu-dera, you first reach the Vermilion Nyaman Gate. To the right, you can see the West Gate and the 3-storied pagoda. Once inside the temple grounds, this is the view from the side of the Sutra Hall. The photo in the upper left is the famous Kiyomizu stage. It's taken from the inner sanctuary, which you reach after passing through the main hall. This spot is well known for photography. The photo in the upper right is a view of the Kiyomizu stage from below. The photo in the lower left is Otowa Waterfall. It was said that when we were children, if we recited the waka poem of Otowa Waterfall while looking for lost items, we often found them. Even if the Otowa waterfall is not visible, its existence can be felt by hearing its sound. Similarly, even if the needle has disappeared from sight, its existence is known. We stayed at Kiyomizu-dera for about 50 minutes and arrived at our next destination, Kennin-ji, around 10:15 a.m. Kennin-ji is the oldest Zen temple in Kyoto, founded in 1202 by Zen master Eisai. It houses national treasures and important cultural properties such as the wind and thunder gods screens. You can also experience zazen, seated meditation, and shakyo, sutra copying. Note that the wind and thunder gods screens on display are replicas. The originals are deposited at the Kyoto National Museum. Kennin-ji has 3 gardens, each with a different character. The top 2 photos are of Daiouin. It is a dry landscape garden that spreads out in front of the main hall, simply made with white sand, large stones, and moss. The white sand depicts raindrops falling on the main stone, turning into a river, then the sea, and finally forming a whirlpool. The bottom left photo is of Chouontei. It is a garden located between the Gion and Gion, designed so that all 4 directions, east, west, south, and north, are the front. In the center is the Sanzen stone, to the east is the Zazen stone, and around it are arranged maple trees. The top left photo is of the 3rd garden, the circle, triangle, square garden. This garden represents the 4 major Zen Buddhist concepts: earth, water, fire, wind, with earth represented by the square, water by the circle, and fire by the triangle. The well in the back is square, the area under the camellia tree in the center is circular, and the mound of white sand in the right corner is triangular. The bottom left photo is of the twin dragon painting on the ceiling of the Dharma Hall, created to commemorate the 800th anniversary of the temple's founding. It is said that the dragons bring the reign of the Dharma, Buddhist teachings, and since dragon gods govern water, it also symbolizes protection from fire. This year is the year of the dragon in the Chinese zodiac. We left Kennin-ji around 11:20 a.m. and headed to our next destination, Sanjusangendo. Since the weather was nice, we decided to walk there. On the way, we got a bit hungry, so we stopped for tea at a Kyoto sweet shop called Kanshundo Hanten. We enjoyed some delicious Japanese sweets inside the shop. We arrived at Sanjusangendo around 12:15 p.m.
The admission fee was 600 yen.
This Sanjusangendo was founded by Emperor Go-Shirakawa and has been repaired several times since then. The building is long from north to south, boasting a length of 118 meters, making it the longest wooden structure in Japan. The hall is commonly known as Sanjusangendo because the number of pillars in the main hall's interior is 33. The main hall houses 1001 statues of the thousand-armed cannon. Each statue has a unique expression, which is truly impressive. Photography is prohibited, so this is a quote.
I left Sanjusangendo around 1 p.m.
By chance, the bus that came was the Princess Line bus, and I headed to Kyoto Station on this bus. Although only cash could be used, I was glad I could get on quickly. I departed from Kyoto Station around 1:30 p.m. and took the Kintetsu Kyoto line to Toji Station. It is just one stop to Toji Station.
It took about 7 to 8 minutes to walk from Toji Station to Toji.
The main entrance to Toji is the Kaigaman Gate, which is shown in the top right of the photo, so we entered from there. There was a shop right at the entrance, where I had a set of matcha and chestnut mochi pie, 600 yen. My wife had a set of chestnut mochi and matcha, 600 yen. It was delicious. The photo in the top left shows the famous national treasure, the 5-storied pagoda of Toji, along with autumn leaves. This time, we were able to view the first floor of the 5-storied pagoda. The photo in the bottom left shows the Kondo Hall, which is also a national treasure. We were able to see several statues, including the important cultural property, the Yakushi Nyorai statue. The photo above shows the lecture hall, which is an important cultural property. Inside, there are 21 statues centered around the important cultural property, the Dainichi Nyorai statue, known as the three-dimensional mandala. 15 of these statues are national treasures.
These statues are said to represent the esoteric teachings of Kobo Daisher Kukai.
Photography is prohibited inside, so this is a quote.
We took a taxi from Toji to Nijo Castle and arrived around 3 p.m.
The photo in the top left shows the Nainamaru Palace, a national treasure. The Great Hall, where the restoration of imperial rule was declared, is located in the Nainamaru Palace. The Great Hall also features dolls representing the restoration of imperial rule, making it a historically significant exhibit. Photography is prohibited, so this is a quote.
The photo in the bottom left shows the Nainamaru Garden. Unfortunately, we could not visit the Hanmaru Palace as it was under renovation.
The photo in the top left shows the remains of the Tenshidai, main keep base, at Nijo Castle.
You can climb up to the top of the Tenshidai. The two photos below were taken from the top of the Tenshidai. We left Nijo Castle around 4 p.m. After returning to the hotel and resting for a bit, I went out for dinner. I walked for about 10 minutes from the hotel to Kiyomizu-Gojo station on the Keihan line and took the train to Gion Shijo station. It's just one stop on the Keihan main line. We aimed for a kaiseki restaurant called Gion Nanba, which we had reserved from 7 p.m. It is a 7 to 8 minute walk from Gion Shijo station, but since it is located in an alley off Shijo Street, it was surprisingly difficult to find. However, we managed to find it and arrived at the restaurant on time. First, we had the appetizer, which was sea bream and flounder marinated in salted fish entrails, shudoi. It pairs well with sake. Next, we had a clear soup with shrimp dumplings. Then, we enjoyed sashimi of sea bream, yellowtail, buri, tuna, and squid. I enjoyed shirako, morocco, enkamo, monkfish liver, yuba, and a small dish of scallops and persimmons with cold sake from Kyoto, a Junmai Daijinjo called Iken. The cold sake had a fruity flavor and was easy to drink. The photo on the top right is sawara, Spanish mackerel, uenyaki with pickled daikon, and the photo on the bottom left is quail meatball stew with cartilage. The meal ended with taiokawa, sea bream rice, and red miso soup. For dessert, we had muscat grapes, pear, pomegranate, and raspberry ice cream topped with brown sugar chestnut kinton. The ice cream had a wonderfully crunchy texture. We finished with matcha tea, and it was a delightful conclusion to the meal. The restaurant isn't very spacious, but it has a cozy, homey atmosphere. The portions were just right, and the food was incredibly delicious. I left feeling very full. The price, including sake, was about 16,000 yen per person. After finishing our meal and feeling full, we headed from Gion to the illuminated Kodaiji temple. It took about 10 minutes on foot from Gion Nanba to Kodaiji, and we arrived around 9:15 p.m. The autumn foliage illumination at Kodaiji temple is held during the peak season, beautifully lighting up the Garia corridor and Garia pond. The illumination takes place every year from October 21st to December 10th, from 5 p.m. to 10 p.m., last admission at 9:30 p.m. During this period, be sure to enjoy the colorful autumn leaves that brighten up the nights of Kyoto. There is also a bamboo grove at Kodaiji temple, which was beautifully illuminated. We fully enjoyed the illuminated temple grounds and left Kodaiji temple. By this time, it was around 9:50 p.m. Finally, we enjoyed the night view of Kyoto City and took a taxi back to the hotel. We are looking forward to sightseeing in Kyoto from tomorrow onwards. That concludes our second day of sightseeing in Kyoto. Please watch the video of the third day if you like.